Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to talk about something really interesting. It's HAPP versus IL. I hear this conversation all the time, and the guys over at Paradise Arcade Shop, this has been there for a while, but they've had a description when you go to buy an IL Eurostick to tell the story. I don't know why the story is never told appropriately or there's pieces missing. All this HAPP versus IL stuff, let's get to the bottom of what it actually means. So I'm going to read from the website, we're going to do a little story time, but I also have joysticks here so I can show you the actual difference. So it says the IL Eurostick may be better known as the original HAPP competition stick. Sounds confusing, but we'll get there. Many people who grew up playing arcades in the USA in the 80s and 90s will remember these parts. And they're talking about HAPP competition here. These days, IL's name is synonymous with quality. Now keep in mind, IL Eurostick and HAPP are two different brands right now. So that's as it exists today. Let's go through a little bit of the history to understand the difference, and then I'll show you the actual parts. So IL was the original manufacturer for HAPP arcade parts. So IL was actually making the HAPP competition stick before. So that's why there's a little bit of confusion, because right now, as it exists in 2023, the HAPP competition stick exists, and so does an IL Eurostick. So it's confusing. So let's continue. So basically, HAPP and Suzo merged into Suzo HAPP, and then HAPP moved their production of their arcade parts to the Suzo HAPP Chinese factory. At that point when that event happened, they parted ways with IL. So IL was no longer making the joysticks for HAPP. So it said this left IL to manufacture these parts with decades of history under their own brand. So think about it. They were making the parts for HAPP. When they broke ties, IL just decided I'll just make these parts by myself under the IL brand name. So it says today it may be said that IL is better known than HAPP for these joysticks. So now we have the understanding that IL, which is this stick right here, was actually, this brand was making the original HAPP competition stick. So this is an IL Eurostick and this is a HAPP competition stick. So in effect, these should be identical. The thing is, when Suzo HAPP decided to start manufacturing these on their own, they cut a few corners. So you'll notice the actuator on the bottom is the first thing you notice. So that's the actuator. This one's actually a nylon actuator, and this is like a cheaper plastic material. That's really, to me, the only difference. It uses the same micro switches. The molds are pretty much almost the same. You can see they're similar molds. The ILs, you'll notice, whatever the color stick is, the dust cap will be the exact same color. And when you move the stick around, you kinda at first glance or at first feel, you won't feel like it's completely that much different. I can feel it because I've used them so much. I find I prefer the IL Eurostick. But if we're comparing these two, I don't think the HAPP competition stick is terrible, but I would favor the IL Eurostick. And keep in mind, HAPP makes a bunch of replacement arcade parts, so it's not like I'm saying HAPP is bad. I just think these sticks, when it comes to their joystick line on the HAPP competitions, I would prefer the IL Eurostick. Once you start playing them, there's a significant durability to it that's better, and you will feel it after a while. The micro switches still engage the same, but because the actuator is a better quality, it's going to be more durable, and I think the way it engages the micro switch will actually feel different to the player, and it will feel like the joystick they remember from like a Mortal Kombat game or maybe Street Fighter, because these would have been the sticks they would have used, except at that time they would have been known as HAPP competition, not IL Eurostick. Now the one that I would say to steer clear from and where they really cut corners, and the name is really weird. So this is the base for the HAPP Ultimate. You'd think Ultimate is better than competition. Just by, if someone says the Ultimate, you'd think, oh wow, it must be great. This one, they cut a ton of corners. The plastic they use is a lot cheaper. You can kind of feel it almost like a grinding. You can hear it. It's almost got this grinding sound. And if you use one of these, you will absolutely be like, wow, this is not the HAPP stick I remember, and it's because it's not. It's very cheaply made. They use lesser quality micro switches, which you can also feel. They're a little bit more clicky, and clicky isn't necessarily bad. People will say things like, these micro switches are clicky. That's okay for them to be clicky. It's just that when you listen to an IL Eurostick, it's much more subtle because the actual micro switch is easier to engage, which you want. Some people want it harder, and that's preference, but for the most part, people would consider these micro switches less durable and not quite high quality. But where it really starts to fall off the train tracks is the actuator. You can see it almost reminds me of those toys you used to buy, those toys that would be like, you'd break them out of the plastic. It's very jagged and it tends to catch when the joystick's engaged. It almost like touches and catches on the micro switches. It's just really not great. Now it does come with two of these pivot cylinders. So on the pivot cylinders, these come with two different sizes, one for a metal control panel and one for a wood control panel. So it just depends on how thick your control panel is. These even seem cheaper made. It's like they just decided to use cheaper plastic and just all around cheaper components. So 100% absolutely, if you're looking for a joystick for like a fight game or an overall, quality bat top joystick, and you're evaluating them, steer clear of the HAPP Ultimate. This is definitely the new standard. The IL competition stick is the standard. It has been for years, and the reason why, like you found out in this video, the reason why is because this was the original manufacturer of HAPP competition sticks, the ones that would have been in the arcades that you grew up with. So this is obviously going to be reference quality if you're looking to replace, a stick, either replace a stick or put a new stick in like a fighting game or something that would require a joystick like this one. Now, I'm not saying that the HAPP competition stick is terrible. It is the better of the Ultimate. If you're gonna do the Ultimate or the HAPP competition, go HAPP competition. But if you have the choice and you have the means, they're almost the same price. Go to Paradise Arcade or someone else that sells these and get yourself an IL Euro stick. This is the way to go. But now you know the story. This company used to make the HAPP competition stick. They part ways. They decided to make it on their own, and HAPP decided to cut corners on this product. So it's just not as good. So hopefully that brings some clarity to this topic. I know it's been brought up a million times, and I feel like that's really if you understand that part of it, then you kind of make an easy decision. Buy the IL Euro stick, and you'll be happy. If you have any questions, put it in the comments below. There's obviously more to the story. I could have the timelines of the years that all this happens, but at this point, you don't really care. You just want to buy a good quality joystick, so stick with the IL Euro stick and you'll be good to go. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel, put your comments below, and we will see you on the next one.